Good evening, councillors, honoured guests and members of the public, and welcome to this Sandwich Town Council ordinary meeting of the council on Monday the 31st of July 2023. Item number 1 is Chair's opening remarks, and I've only got a few this time round, so you'll be pleased to hear about that. Obviously I've been maintaining my duties as your mayor, attending many civic events over the past month. I won't list them all so it doesn't get too boring, but the most important of all was myself and a couple of councillors from the council attended the Lord Warden's Memorial Service in Westminster Abbey, and it was a lovely service, and it was very important for us to be there. And it maintains the very strong traditions that Sandwich has got as the head port of the sink ports there. So it's very nice to see several of us at the Lord Warden service. So, but of course we await with trepidation who's going to be appointed as the new Lord Warden. But obviously there'll be a number of occasions and matters when we will meet with them in due course, hopefully. Tonight's agenda,
I don't know whether now is the moment for me just to mention two things direct to as Deputy Mayor, or should
that'll come up on the agenda. Sorry, thank you, Councillor Anderson. So, okay. And on tonight's agenda, as we said, for anybody that attended last month's agenda in June, where we left here at 10:28, I think it was, in the evening. The town clerk and I are going to keep the agenda to a manageable format, and we've got a 2-hour slot, so mainly if we don't fit it in the 2-hour slot it gets deferred to the following month. So if some people didn't get items on this agenda for July, that is the reason for that. And if you want something on the agenda, please send it well in advance to both the town clerk and myself to check out and agree that it can go onto the meeting agenda. The third item is about declarations, and I've had a few follow-ups with both NAUC and the monitoring officer on declarations recently, and it's led me to ask. The monitoring officer said that it's very important that all the councillors in this chamber make full declarations of any interests or memberships of any political groups or organisations, and you're duty bound to make those before you enter this chamber. So if you enter this chamber and vote on something without declaring something, you're actually in deficit of the code of conduct. So please do make your declarations clear. And then lastly, I was just going to give you an update on rules of the chamber, so that you'll know we have a very happy meeting. If you wish to speak, please put your hand up and I will spot you and put you in a list of people to speak. You get one question or clarification on whatever you wish to talk on. You must stand in the town council meeting and speak very clearly, so not only the cameras can pick up what you're saying, but the members of the public, more importantly, can hear you and listen to what you've actually got to say there. I can give you a second slot if you need to come back, but it's at my discretion and it will depend on how much has got to be said. But can we say that we don't have any personal comments, no derogatory remarks, no talking over anybody else, and only speak when you're told to do so. And that way we could have a nice happy meeting. So thank you very much for listening. Item number 2 is apologies for absence received. So I'll ask the town clerk.
Yes, so this evening we have received apologies from Councillor Sue Chandler, Kent County Council, and Councillor Dan Friend from Dover District Council.
Thank you very much for that, town clerk. And item number 3 is declarations of interest, and this is to receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business that will be transacted on the agenda tonight. Councillor Franklin.
Thank you. I don't think the new councillors realise that when they come on the council, it's not only if they work for someone or they have shares in a company, it's also where they live. We have it on planning, don't we? So if they live next door to a property which is on the agenda item or adjacent to it, they must declare a pecuniary interest because it could affect the value of their property. I mean, you get Gays and Salts, if they set up a big sports hall on there, unfortunately they're not allowed to speak, but it could affect the value of their property. So they must declare an interest if they live next door or near a property, their own property. Okay?
Right. Thank you for that clarification, Councillor Franklin. That's very good. Thank you. I think.
Well, on that basis, I live next door to the Maddox property, and I can't believe that anything that we decide about the Maddox property will influence the value of my house or the Maddox property, which, as we all know, was transferred to Sandwich Town Council at the sum of £680,000 in value. So, you know, I don't believe that anything that we're doing, but if councillors feel that I might have a pecuniary interest, I'd be interested to hear, and I'm quite happy to stand down.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
I'm just going to say we always do declare. We had a housing estate behind my house, and I had to declare an interest, even though I didn't like it and I was overlooked. You must. We've always done it. Even on planning, we do it as well. So if any plans go through, you declare if it is neighbourly or next door.
Thank you, Councillor. As long as we keep clarity within the chamber, I think we should be quite safe. Yes, Councillor Tuke.
I'll mention Benno because I think you were looking towards me.
Yeah.
Gates and Salts Nature Reserve is near to my property. Actually, it's nearer to Peter's than it is to mine. But as I was being egged on, I suppose, to stand up, I'll mention that anything that I've said up to this point has been related to governance. Nothing to do with the nature reserve itself. And again, we have got an item later today in the next meeting, which I will be speaking at.
Thank you very much for that.
I was going to bring that up in the next meeting.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor
Just to
Franklin.
cover yourselves, councillors.
So item number 4 is minutes of the full council meeting, and this is to approve the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Sandwich Town Council held on the 26th of June 2023, and to consider any matters arising from those minutes not covered elsewhere in the agenda. This is attachment number 1. Did we have any minutes, any matters arising from those minutes? And then I would like, indeed, Councillor Breen.
I have a number of items, if I may, and I'll do them all in one go.
Thank you.
Under 0623 item 4, there was a call for an action log, and the town clerk said that would be reinstated, but it hasn't been yet. There was a call for a meeting regarding the old schoolhouse. I don't know if that's happened, and there was some discussions about collaboration. I don't know if any feedback from all of the councillors, if there's been any contact with the town clerk. On item 06237, the stagecoach meeting, we have an offer, I should report, which has just come in from Dover District Council, to have the meeting on the 16th or the 22nd of August in the morning, and they're asking for about 3 representatives, including Councillor Marie. They're suggesting myself and one other, but it's up to this council to decide who should attend that meeting, because, as you know, normally there would be a quorum of about 5 councillors attending that. The Dover District Council manager has also brought to my attention that there's an application in from a cafe in the square for 12 tables and 28 chairs in the courtyard. So that's a matter for the planning committee, but I just wanted everybody to be aware of it, seeing the council representative brought that to me. In respect of item 14 on the agenda, on the minutes from last time about the handover has happened, but everything isn't over yet, and I think we need an urgent meeting of the courtyard working group, because there are important items, outstanding items that are to be dealt with. There are operational issues that need to be brought to the council. There are design aspects that are still outstanding, that we need to look at, and there are certain actions for Sandwich Town Council. Now, I have started drafting a report to submit to that working group, but you know, just that's a matter arising from that minute. There was an attachment about the allotments working group, that the RFO would issue a budgetary status, but we haven't seen anything on that, so I just wanted to comment on that. And then item 23 was about the appointment of the town clerk from commencing the 1st of August, and I would just like confirmation that the town clerk is going to be fully with us from the 1st of August tomorrow.
So thank you for that very much. If I can just touch on those while we've got those in council at the moment. So obviously we should all be welcoming from tomorrow our full-time town clerk Jill, who's taken up residence and will be guiding us through the next few years, the next decade hopefully. So that's really good news from tomorrow. So that's excellent news. And I'd just like to say thank you to Jill for all the hard work, to the town clerk for all the hard work she's done in between time while she was working for us on an interim basis and whilst doing 2 jobs at the same time. So I'm really grateful for that. The action log was something that has been discussed this afternoon, and dependent on another item on the agenda going through, that is covered on another item on tonight's agenda. And I can update you, I made contact with myself and Councillor Mrs Carter, made contact with the owners of Schoolhouse Nursery and some time back, and the matter is going to come up in next month's agenda for August's agenda, and there's something that the council need to discuss on that matter, so I'll leave the discussion until the August agenda there, if that's okay. Did you have any other items to raise? Any other ones at all?
Only to come back about the allotment working group. Obviously the RFO was on leave the week before me, and I was on leave last week, and I didn't get back until 4:30 PM this afternoon, so I haven't had an opportunity yet to discuss any of the allotment working group with the RFO, because we've both been on leave, sadly. But it's something that obviously we will catch up on now.
Councillor Black?
Yes, I've got 2 or 3 points as well. Again, what is it now? Yes, 623.4. There's a couple of other items that my colleague hasn't raised yet. We asked about progress on the collaboration commitment, and is there any update on how much that is progressing? Secondly, we were told that the CALC advice will be shared with all members. I personally don't recall seeing any advice about that. And when it came to the meeting with Stagecoach, I'm glad that a couple of dates have been suggested, but have we seen the safety audits yet? We asked for them, and they were specifically requested that they be provided.
Indeed.
And I appreciate they're not in your hands, they are probably somewhere in KCC or DDC's hands.
So, town clerk?
Oh, are we talking about the play areas?
No,
No?
Stagecoach.
Stagecoach, okay. I have a number of emails obviously that have accrued while I've been away, and I haven't had an opportunity yet to go through those, but I will be going through those obviously tomorrow, first thing. I'll spend all day doing that, and then I can update members if I've received anything. If I haven't, I will obviously chase.
Welcome to Sandwich, you've got to spend the whole day doing email.
So I have Councillor Tuker next, and then
Thank you.
Councillor
I'll
Lee.
just pick up on a couple of things that left. Both colleagues had sort of reduced my list, and it's just 2 outstanding actions from the last meeting that there was expectations that they would be brought up to date. They may not have been done because there might have been too much business, but I want to make sure we don't lose sight of these 2 actions. One related to a further report on the Guildhall Square working group. Councillor Marie was charged with doing that. And then I believe it was Councillor Anderson around disability access strategy in terms of membership, in terms of reference to come back to this meeting.
Yes.
all sorts of reasons, I'm sure, why they're not here today, but I want to make sure that they don't get missed and they do feature at a future meeting.
Indeed, thank you for that. And then Councillor Marie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 062307 regarding stagecoach. I was going to see if there's a question of the date was going to be done, but Councillor Breen's also mentioned the date. The 22nd is the date that I can mostly make, if that's available to everybody else, because I've been busy. Regarding the working group, Gilder Square working group, I was currently waiting for the report back from Councillor Breen and Councillor Mallett regarding the snag list that was done on the handover. As soon as that comes in, the minutes will be sent out, and then I'll set up a new working group meeting.
That's brilliant, thank you very much. Councillor Anderson.
Yes, I must apologise about not producing in terms of reference for the Disability Access Strategy Working Group. I did invite members who have put themselves forward to come for a little walkabout with me so I could explain some of the issues, and I have to say that only Councillor Pennington came, but I'm sure there were other good reasons as to why other councillors weren't there, and I must apologise for not being at this meeting for terms of reference, but I'm about to go away for 3 weeks. I will have the odd afternoon, and I will draft them, send them round to people who offered to participate in the working group, see what they make of them, and bring them to the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you. At this point, Councillor Breen, did you want to get another member? You need another member for the stagecoach meeting, don't you?
We need 3 people, as been suggested by Dover District Council.
So you've got
we've got
Councillor Marie.
Can I make a suggestion, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor? Can I, if we can I request that Councillor Wiles is also on that, because me and Councillor Wiles have been working very closely with that from day one. So I'd like if Councillor Wiles can be nominated for that meeting as well.
Would that be okay with you, Councillor Breen?
absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Wiles, would you be okay to be on that working group? So could I ask that the 3 of you can liaise between yourselves as to the best date to undertake that meeting?
Dover District have offered 2 dates.
2 dates, yeah.
So the meeting is going to be between
16th or 22nd.
the 16th or the 22nd. It's going to be Stagecoach, Kent Highways, Dover District Council and Sandwich Town Council. So we've got 3 external parties, and that's why I was saying the standing orders for working groups are that 5 should attend, but if this councillor are happy that the 3 of us attend, given that there's likely to be, half a dozen other people coming as well already, so a meeting of 9 is quite likely, and that's more than enough.
That's it. So could I ask that the 3 of you go forward with a date that's beneficial to all of yourselves and the other parties?
I think we've
said the 22nd.
They've offered the 22nd in the morning, so
Brilliant.
Councillor Marie said 22nd in the morning, so we're fixed on that.
Oh, that's good. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. We've got something sorted there. That's very good. So could I need a proposer and a seconder for the minutes, and the town clerk will come back with the items. All the items that have been raised tonight have been written down, and the ones that I haven't been able to explain, or the town clerk, we will come back with some answers in due course in the week, if that's okay. Councillor
Proposing.
proposing, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Pennington seconding that. And although you haven't got your voting cards, could you just raise your hand if you're in favour, please, now? Thank you very much. Okay. And those that are against? Anybody? No. And those abstaining? Oh, was that against or
Abstain.
abstaining? Okay. Okay, that's that item passed. Thank you very much. Item number 5 is payment schedules, and we have item 5A is to receive and note the payments for mid-July, totalling £26,267. Those payments which are not supported by a minute reference have been authorised by officers with delegated powers of expenditure. Item 5B is to receive and approve the schedule of payments for July, totalling £2,801.82. So I'd like to take items 5A and 5B together. Could I have a proposer and seconder for that? You're proposing, Councillor Pennington?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Marie seconding that. And all those in favour of these 2 items, 5A and 5B, please. Thank you. That's okay. Any abstentions? Okay. Item 5C is to confirm the nomination of 2 signatories to authorise the end of July payment schedules on Bankline. Item 5D is to confirm nomination of 2 signatories to authorise mid-August payment schedules on Bankline. I'm happy to put myself forward. Do we have a second signatory for these 2 items? You have to make sure you're not on holiday. Councillor Breen,
Yes.
and you're all set up on Bankline, yes?
No, I'm not, no.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
Councillor Wales. I'm having trouble with NatWest at the moment.
Are you?
I can do August.
Right. We need somebody to do the July one that's already set up on Bankline. Are you set
I'm
up?
set up, Councillor.
Okay then,
Yeah.
so
I
Councillor.
will collect my bits and pieces tomorrow.
Okay.
Give you a call.
All right. Okay. If you
Okay.
have any problems, then you need to see the.
Yeah, but all everything's ready. All my pin stuff is in the safe downstairs.
All
in
right.
the-
Okay. Thank you for that.
So that was, sorry, Mr Mayor and Councillor Murray.
That's
for
it.
the July.
July and August, yeah, because Councillor Wiles can only do the August one. So let's have
Okay, yeah.
continuity there, if that's okay. That's good. And so all those in favour of Councillor Marie and Councillor Carter being the signatories for the July payment and the August payment, please signify now. Okay, I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. So, and item number 6, my favourite part of the evening, public participation. A 15-minute session is set aside for members of the public to make representations at the meeting in respect of the business on the agenda, and individual representations should not exceed 3 minutes maximum. We're really strict on that here. And written notice of the desire to exercise the right to speak, together with the topic to be addressed, must be given to the interim town clerk prior to 1600 hours on the Friday preceding the meeting. And our first member of public is Sally Hayter. Would you please come and address the council?
Your coat's on the floor. I can't bend down to pick it up for you. Feel my bones. Are you ready for me, Mr Mayor?
Indeed I am. Could
Good.
you please address the council chamber and the public with your matter that
Thank
you
you
need
so
to?
much.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Last month, I stood in front of Christina's camera regarding the criminal damage sustained and the antisocial behaviour I and others had experienced. I am very sorry to say that so far neither KCC, the police or Karma have come to our aid. This month in our road we have had a gang of school-age youths racing on bikes, kicking and throwing a football up and down the very small road, sitting on a neighbour's doorstep, shouting, throwing food, spitting food and dumping rubbish on the pavement. The next afternoon there were 3 school-age youths who decided it was appropriate to sit on yet another neighbour's doorstep, throwing sweets and rubbish onto the pavement, shaking and spraying tins of soft drink around and then spitting it out and finding it amusing to throw a carton of milk down the road. 2 evenings later, another neighbour had her tree, which is in a very large pot, knocked over, resulting in damage to the tree. This was late in the evening, so more likely to be the work of someone older. 5 evenings later, another gang of school-age students turned up, shouting and yelling, kicking tin cans up and down the road. Again, some were spraying and spitting juice, throwing and spitting sweets and leaving litter on the pavement. One of them was banging on the glass door of a shop and bad language was being used. I have again reported each incident to the police. This evening I am only relating events I have witnessed in the past 2 months, but other residents have frequently encountered and reported this type of wanton and mindless behaviour elsewhere in the town. Someone even expressed to me concern for their own safety. I am therefore asking this question. Why should some residents, which includes me, an 80-year-old woman, when faced with this behaviour, feel we have to go onto the streets of Sandwich in order to try and 1. Stop it, 2. Prevent it from escalating, 3. Prevent it from becoming the norm? The answer may possibly be because we never see anyone taking any meaningful action. So it would be absolutely wonderful and make an enormous difference to the lives of residents if all of you would fight for Sandwich to have its very own hot fuzz. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Oh, I see. Oh, super. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Christina Glynn as our second public speaker to address the chamber, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm addressing you this evening on governance matters, in particular lack of follow through on certain items and premature action or apparent deviation on others. Whilst I appreciate that the staff capacity may be cited as a contributing factor, it is difficult to see how all of the following can be attributed to council staff. Nevertheless, I'm hopeful the appointment of the new town clerk will help drive through improvements across the board. So welcome, and here's a few things. Number 1, some May agenda items, in particular the SO5Js that I've been chasing for about 18 months now or so, were deferred to June, but they did not appear on the June or the July agendas. So what I'm asking is, if agenda items need to be deferred beyond an agreed date, please could it be tracked openly on the agenda, which I think chimes with some other comments. And then my others really relate to the market, which I have been supporting. I've been supporting the traders for quite a while now. And so the terms of reference of the Guildhall Square Working Group could benefit from clarification. In March, the full council tasked the working group with reviewing the commercial hire of the Guildhall Square and the market regulations documents, both of which had already been updated to take account of the forecourt refurbishment, but the stall pitch fees were highlighted for further review, and I know more wanted to be discussed. In May, the full council added the construction design and management regulations to the working group remit. Although the working group did not have powers to decide matters with financial implications, it appears that some members went on to decide changes to market traders' pitch fees outside of the meeting. It's understood that they also proposed the appointment of the interim market manager with the fees set as a percentage of market income based on the increased pitch fees, which had not been approved by the full council. And the pitch fee increases are not on tonight's agenda either. And the next point, the market traders were given an undated letter from STC informing them of the appointment of the interim market manager. The proposed increases in pitch fees were mentioned in a meeting with traders, but STC did not confirm the increased fees in writing. Some, but not all, regular traders received an unsigned email with a photo attachment from the sandwich shop, presumably in lieu of a formal STC communication, but that wasn't made clear. Does the council even know that the pitch fees have been increased on their behalf? Pitch fee rates are not confidential, and yet the pitch fee increases have not been discussed in council, resolved or minuted. So are they even legal? Now, I ran out of time at that point, but there is more. And I mean, there are questions about the competitiveness of the pitch fees by comparison with other markets. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for your speech.
Yeah.
And did we have a third?
Yes.
And finally, our third participant tonight is Jill Griffiths. If you'd like to come and speak to the council chamber, that'd be nice. Thank you. You've got
Off camera here, but if you wanted to be filmed, you're welcome to stand over there.
Very brave.
I get a better view of everybody.
That's it. But you don't get any Oscars. You have 3 minutes, Mrs. Griffiths.
Yeah, my name is Jill Griffiths, and 2 Jills in a room is always very good, so welcome. I've come along to speak in support of and about Gazing-Salt's Nature Reserve, which I know is on the agenda later on when it comes to funding. But I thought it might be useful for councillors to know a little bit more about the reserve and the work. It's only 12 minutes from here. It's very unusual to have a nature reserve so close to the town centre, and that means that it's easy to get to and free for everybody to use. So I'm one of more than 20 volunteers, and I've only been going along for about 2 years now. But the reserve was established 50 years ago. The anniversary was during COVID, so unfortunately there was no celebration. Many people in the town will probably know Mike Briggs, who is the reserve manager and has been involved throughout the 50 years. The reserve is at the mercy of the seasons and the weather, like most of our gardens, and it has some good and bad times, most notably the floods a while ago, which threatens the reserve with closure. But I'm pleased to say that things are improving, and one constant has been the funding from DDC and STC, which has kept the reserve going. The reserve is going from strength to strength with more visitors and more wildlife, 2 new butterfly species this week, a new pair of tawny owls, field mice, which are very rare now, and we've learned that Hull and Canterbury universities would like to use the reserve as a control for beaver studies, and beavers are rumoured to be on the site. And there's an increase in the number of volunteers. The future projects include the construction of a new scrape to encourage more waterside birds, improvements to the signage throughout the reserve, training for volunteers, and importantly, on the 26th of August, everybody's diaries, an open day which will include free activities for children. The main volunteer effort is in keeping the reserve accessible. Quite a lot of the tasks are quite mundane and labour intensive, and unfortunately we lost our part-time warden a while ago, so all of this falls to volunteers. We opened Gallows Field to the public last year. It looks beautiful at the moment, but difficult to navigate because the grass is so high. So one of the things we're desperate for is a proper grass cutter. I've been involved in the wildlife garden, which is designed to show people who are visiting how we can all encourage pollinating insects and feeding of the birds. We talk to visitors, and we know that even post-COVID, people value spending time with nature. Some visitors clearly appreciate the opportunity for a chat, which they may not be getting elsewhere. We welcome local people, tourists, bird enthusiasts, and walking groups. We know the reserve is valuable to Sandwich and to Dover, and several councillors have visited recently to learn about our work. We'd love to see more of you down at the reserve, maybe at the open day, and we'd really appreciate the continued financial support of the council.
Thank you very much for your report. If you'd like to take your seat, thank you very much. Okay, item number 7 is our brand new, much applauded PC Matt Hawkes, and I've invited him along. I did invite him to July, but he works shift patterns, and obviously he's a very busy man. But I've invited Matt Hawkes to attend and provide a short speech, a short update on where he is and what he's doing for us as our new beat officer for Sandwich. So I'd like PC Hawkes, would you like to come up here and just update us on what you're doing and what you can help us with in Sandwich, particularly in the light of Mrs Hayter's problems that she's got in Potter Street. So.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
All over the place, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first meeting I've been to, certainly the first Sandwich Town Council meeting. I couldn't attend July's, which I apologise for. I wasn't sure whether I was going to be given a speech or a talk, so I haven't prepared a presentation as such. But I'll just go through some bits and pieces on where we are on the district and the county with neighbourhood policing, what it looks like for Sandwich at the moment and what we're hoping to achieve over the next few weeks. I've been fortunate enough to meet a number of the councillors here and members of the public during some surgeries on Thursday, but obviously haven't had a chance to meet you all. Just to give you a short bit of background into the district's neighbourhood policing model. Over the last 2 years or so, they've been going through, the organisation's been going through a remodel, whereas all our neighbourhood policing was managed by PCSOs, which is Police Community Support Officers. We had 17 on the district of Dover, kind of this time last year or slightly before. I was involved in supervising that team, and those officers were responsible for wards, parishes and towns across the whole Dover district. Sorry, Mr Mayor, I didn't know.
No, that's you. Carry on.
Okay. I know that a lot of you have worked with and have met Debbie Bishop before, who was our PCSO. She's now moved on to a different team, and that was following a significant reduction in PCSO numbers across the county. What was decided following public consultation is that warranted police officers, and by warranted I mean police officers with full powers, would take on the role of neighbourhood beat officers, which is where we are now. Now, unfortunately, we came to June, early June, 7th of June, and the model was rolling out, but we didn't have anywhere near the numbers of police officers that they would have liked, so they decided to roll the model out anyway because it had been promised, and Dover District are somewhere between 40 and 50% of the resource numbers that they need. Now, what that means for Sandwich and other areas is that yes, each town, each parish, each ward has got a named officer, but that officer isn't bespoke and just for that town. So, for example, my areas are Sandwich and Deal, so I'm sure you can imagine that's quite vast. So, unfortunately, I'm not just a Sandwich officer for the time being, but Sandwich is an important town. It needs policing. And having spoken to a number of you, there are a number of issues and problems that need police involvement. On a positive, that sounds all very negative, which I can understand, but it's all about being honest and trying to manage expectations. But we are pretty much at the bottom, so now we're going to start building up, and we've already seen one other officer come into the district. We've had a massive recruitment campaign. Over the last 2 years, we've got significant numbers of officers that are in training, have just come out of training, and initially they're joining our response teams. So over the next coming few months to a year, the number of officers on the neighbourhood unit is going to start increasing, which means eventually, and I can't give you a date on this, officers are going to be responsible for a smaller area. So the idea is you'll have an officer just for Sandwich. Deal will probably have 2 officers, and that will be replicated across the different villages and different areas. So it's going to get better, and we're already starting to see signs that more officers are coming in. And just to go over a few things that I've picked up from the councillors that I've spoken to and members of the public, there's been, unfortunately, what appears to be quite a number of concerning crimes that have happened in Sandwich. Certainly this year we've had, as I'm sure you're all aware, the arsons down in Honfler. At the beginning of the year or early spring, we had quite a number of theft from motor vehicle incidents in Sandwich. We've got the ongoing problems with the boy racers, the nuisance vehicles that use the bypass and the A roads from Finglesham, Sandwich, all the way up to the Pfizer's estate, which is causing residents a lot of antisocial behaviour and noise. These are all things I could talk about each one, and it would take quite a long time to tell you what we've done, where the investigations are and prosecutions, but I'm sure I've only got limited time, sir, is that correct? But yeah, we are listening, we're aware of the problems, we're aware of various complaints that are made within the town and slightly outside the town. My message would be is that you need to report these matters, which I'm sure you all do. I know a lot of people, when we're investigating the theft from motor vehicle offences, I was involved in a lot of the inquiries with that, and every time I went out to make some inquiries and investigate 2 crimes, I was coming back with another 3 or 4. And the message I was getting when I was asking these people why haven't you reported these, was either because you can't do anything about it, we haven't got any CCTV, or what would happen anyway. But if we don't know about it, you can guarantee nothing will happen, because we haven't got a crystal ball. So any problems that you're having that you think the police need to be made aware of, doesn't necessarily mean it to be attended, but it's all logged, it's all recorded, it's all looked at. We don't know there's problems if it's not reported in the formal matter. If any of the members of the public or anyone do need to speak to me, Mrs. Hayter, I know you're quite keen to have a chat, but I make as many of the Thursday surgeries as I can, which are held in the courtyard. And I know I've spoken to a few of the other councillors about some future plans about arranging a joint councillor, local authority and police public surgery. So that's something we're discussing at the moment, and will make us all more accessible.
That's brilliant. I've only got one question. Did you have notification of how the public and councillors, what's the best way for them to contact yourself, not personally, but to report any crimes? Is it online or the telephone or whatever like that, just so that people can report these crimes in?
Yeah, good question, sir. So obviously if it's an urgent call, and the easiest way to decide if it's urgent, if you think there's some form of immediate risk to either harm of life, property, then that's immediate. That's an immediate 999 call. For the less urgent matters, and I'm not saying that they're less important, because they are, but the less urgent matters, the best way is via online. I appreciate not everyone likes using the internet, but there's various functions. You can report a crime online, or you can speak to someone online via a live chat function. As a police officer, I've not had to do that, but I have actually had positive feedback. I've been told it's quite easy to use, it's quite quick, or the 101 system, which personally, if I'm being honest, I'd leave 101 to the last resort, because I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's quite a lengthy waiting time. The online system would be, the best option, I would suggest.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for the update. I'm sure if anybody needed to get in touch with you, they can get hold of you later on. I don't know if you're staying a little while to see Mrs. Hayter at all.
I've got to catch a train soon. We can have a chat. I don't know how long you're staying for. Sorry?
Oh, there you go. Well,
Thanks for that, Mr. Mayor.
PC Hawks. I hope that we see you at future meetings as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. So it's good to meet you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Right, councillors. Item number 8 is the verbal report from the Dover District Council on matters relating to Sandwich. And this week it's the turn of Councillor Mark Morehouse. So I will hand over to Mark to give us an update on Dover District Council.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Right, first of all, the waterways. So along with Stacey Blair, who's the ward member for Middle Deal, I've been appointed by DDC as a member of the River Stour Internal Drainage Board. And I attended the meeting at Liverpool Village Hall on Tuesday the 27th of June for a new members briefing. I asked about the abysmal condition of the waterways in Sandwich and was advised that due to decades of neglect it would take a considerable amount of time to achieve rectification. The Internal Drainage Board undertook an audit of waterways within the district, which included Sandwich, on Thursday the 6th of July, but as it was held within business hours, I was unable to attend. I've asked for findings of that audit, which are specifically pertinent to Sandwich, and will update in due course. I've also been appointed as DDC representative of the Sandwich and Pegwell Bay National Nature Reserve Steering Group. On Friday I received an email from Stephen Weeks, who's the area manager of Kent Wildlife Trust, explaining that the steering group had not met since prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that plans were in progress to restart the meetings in the autumn of this calendar year. In the meantime, he has offered to meet with me, so if any councillor has any item they would like me to discuss with him, could they please let me know. On Thursday the 22nd of June, I had separate meetings with Kelly Green, who's the DDC Economic Development and Town Centre Manager for Dover, Deal and Sandwich, along with Sarah Horan, who's the Community Development Officer, with respect to defining ways in which DDC and STC can work together for the benefit of Sandwich. I'm scheduled to have a second meeting with both next week on the 8th of August. I attended the planning meeting held on Thursday the 13th of July, in which the application for a 120 bedroom hotel along with 15 self-catering holiday plots at Betshanger was rejected by the planning committee. And finally, I attended the full Dover District Council meeting held on Wednesday the 19th of July, and there were two significant announcements made at that meeting. Firstly, following representations from Christine Oliver and Sarah Gleave of the Dover and District Green Party, the DDC leader Kevin Mills agreed to bring forward the 2050 date for a net zero whole district by working in partnership with community councils and businesses to support the climate and ecology bill. And secondly, Councillor Hannah Brivia, who's the portfolio holder for housing, skills and education, announced that the target for environmentally friendly council homes for the 4-year term for the whole district in this administration is 800. I will ask her for an update on what the plans are for that in terms of Sandwich.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Morehouse. That's very helpful there. So, item number 9. Is it relative to the DDC thing?
I just want to thank Councillor Morehouse for a really interesting report. I think it's the first time that I've actually heard a report from a Dover District Councillor that talks about the impact of policies and actions taken by DDC on Sandwich. And I just want to congratulate him. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anderson. That's very helpful. Item number 9 is supposed to be a verbal report from our Kent County Councillor on matters relating to Sandwich, but she's given her apologies. Did she have a written report at all?
No, nothing that's come through on the email.
Sent anything through? Okay. This is something that we're tightening up on, and we will be insisting that if a councillor from one of the other bodies cannot attend, then they must give a written report so it could be read out. So apologies for that. So we don't have any update from Kent County. Is it relative to the item?
Yes, it is difficult to say something when the councillor isn't here, but I did email her at the end of last week. She may be on holiday.
Indeed.
But Ash Road is causing an amount of noise within the community, and I did ask her whether she could give an update to this meeting on Ash Road, particularly as it's closed now till September, and it is closed. It's not got some traffic management arrangements in place, so basically that exit from Sandwich is no-go for 6 weeks. Is causing concerns. A number of people have complained about it, and I was looking for an update, so I don't know if it's possible to maybe ask for an update, because whilst it's being done by, it's a gas-related matter, SGN are actually doing the work. It's actually on KCC highways, and they can control and make sure it gets done to timescales or quicker.
Indeed, thank you very much for that, Councillor Cheeker. Are you able to approach somebody at Kent County Council? Thank you. Yeah. The town clerk will look into the matter of the Ash Road. So thank you for raising that, and the town clerk will bring back an answer hopefully from that. Thank you very much, that's very important. And then item number 10 is updates from councillors. This is to receive and note verbal updates from councillors on meetings that they have attended as a nominated representative of the council. And I would like to invite Councillor Ungerson to now speak to the council.
My moment.
Thank you.
Yes, as Deputy Mayor, because the Mayor could not attend, I attended 2 events. The first, the Dover Patrol Memorial event, which I found very interesting and very moving. It happens in July because the memorial was erected in July 1921. And that's why it takes place in July, and it's very similar to Remembrance Day in that we lay wreaths of poppies and so on. And the second event was I opened the Art Society Sandwich and Art Society Dover Dealer Sandwich joint art exhibition, and I'm really sorry it's over because it was a wonderful exhibition, and one of our members, Councillor Wiles, had some really good, well, attractive, nice paintings in the exhibition, and it is amazing how much talent there is in this town and in Dover and Deal, and I was very pleased to know.
Thank you very much for those updates, Councillor Anderson. That's very good of you. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Councillor Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the Dover Area Committee of the Kent Association of Local Councils last Wednesday at Guston Village Hall. There was a significant amount of topics discussed, including the M20, including roadworks, as Councillor Schuker has alluded to, the traffic access protocol, planning, climate change. I think it'd be best if I submitted a written report to the council.
That would be most helpful if you could, Councillor Morehouse. Thank you for that. So, Councillor Marie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few, so I'll be very brief. Just quickly on a personal note, I'd like to thank Councillor Ungerson and the trustees of the Jubilee Centre had their open day last Friday. Some councillors went on Friday. It's good to see that it's up and running. Good to see it's actually going to be thriving. There's a lot of interest in it, and interest from myself as well to do some things in there in the future. Regarding Folk&Now happened in July, a very successful event. Just to say that their AGM is tomorrow evening at the Bell Hotel at 7 PM if anyone would like to attend it. Regarding Sam's Festival, which is Bank Holiday Weekend, August Bank Holiday Weekend, so there's lots of stuff going on, including the Dell Street Party. We have the Music for Martha on behalf of the Martha Trust on the Guildhall Forecourt on the Saturday. The Alpha Romeo Owners Club on the Guildhall Forecourt on the Sunday. Also the medieval encampment down the quay with axe throwing and archery, concert on the Quay Green on the Sunday, and also the duck race and the historic cars on the Monday. So last council meeting, the Kids Council agreed for me to attend the Neighbourhood Watch AGM for Dover District at Whitfield, like a couple 2 weeks ago, which I attended. I have since became a member of the new committee. It's a brand new committee. The committee are eager for Sandwich Council to have representation on that council, on that committee. I will put my name forward. If not, however, I will stay and remain as a resident on that committee. In this process, some of us have decided that a new Sandwich-wide neighbourhood watch scheme will be set up regarding the police officer and also the county wardens as well. Don't know what's happening with them during the consultation. It's been set up via social media. It's the Sandwich Neighbourhood Watch Scheme. However, I will be hopefully setting up 2 road shows in Sandwich, one in the Guildhall and one hopefully in the Jubilee Centre for other residents, for residents who don't do social media to attend, and hopefully to join the Neighbourhood Watch Scheme to get a broader thing for Sandwich, bringing the community closer together. And I think that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for those updates, Councillor Marie. That's most useful. If you could report back about the update on the Neighbourhood Watch Scheme for Sandwich at the following meetings, that would be useful. Yeah. Councillor Chuka.
Just one very quick update. Myself and Councillor Rickley met with PC Matt Weeks a couple of weeks ago, and he made a hint of something that we did discuss. relating to running a monthly clinic in age concern, where we would, and I've spoken to the manager, Ben Garrett, and he's made sure that time will be given to allow us to do that on a monthly basis. It would be PC Hawks plus a couple of counsellors. So basically come and meet the counsellors, come and meet your PC. Now the reason for doing it in age concern is, and Ben mentioned this to me, is the number of people who go there really don't want to start walking around the town to seek out their local policeman, and it would be really appreciated from their perspective to have presence there, but also with counsellors, just to be available for a couple of hours once a month on a Thursday, so people can pop in and have a conversation if they want to.
That's excellent.
So I think between myself and the council, we're ready to look at setting that up.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
If you could let the rest of the council
Yes,
know,
yes,
so we could perhaps have a rotation,
Yes,
and it doesn't
perfect.
always fall on
No, no,
two officers,
no.
if that's okay. Then. Oh, Councillor Anderson.
I'd just like to say that having a regular knee surgery has also been an issue that we've talked about in terms of the Jubilee Centre. So we need to liaise about that, because it may be we should alter it.
Good idea.
So,
Yeah.
Councillor Green.
Just very briefly, I accepted an invitation to go around Gays and Salts, and was very pleased that Councillor Franklin was there too. And I came away with the feeling that Gays and Salts is a wonderful project for the well-being of Stanwich. It's a wonderful project for the well-being of the fauna, for the wildlife there, and also for the volunteers. So I would just like to say I was really impressed.
That's excellent news there, thank you. And likewise, I was very impressed. I attended the Jubilee Open Day, and I was very impressed with the situation there and the number of people that came along and the plans that they've got for the centre. So well done to the trustees. Councillor Wiles?
Yeah, could I just mention, Mr Mayor, on Gays and Salts, that I'm a trustee at Gays and Salts, one of our committee members has written to all councillors inviting them to come and look at the reserve and have a guided tour, or to come on the open day. And I think to date only 2 or 3 have responded to that. So I would urge all councillors to go down there and have a good look and see the amazing transformation that's happened in the last 3 years.
Thank you very much for that. Item number 11 is financial information, and this is to receive and note the Sandwich Town Council's statement of accounts as at 30th of June 2023, and this is the income, expenditure and budget, and this is attachment number 3. Before we go any further on this, I just want to say I have a note of disappointment that our responsible financial officer went to quite some trouble to ask councillors if they wanted any training, financial training, and she said she only actually got one person come along. A couple of people apparently booked up that didn't turn up. You know, in future, if training is offered to you, you know, it would be useful if you could make use of the officer's time to use this training. So to do with the accounts, make sure, you know, if you don't understand the accounts, to take up the training. Councillor Black.
Yeah, I do want to take up the training, but we keep on being told about staff shortages. And to be frank, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, when there's been only one person downstairs, it's not sensible use of time. So I think that's a bit unfair to councillors. I certainly want to take it up, but certainly not at this moment.
Yeah. I can reply to that. I made sure with the responsible financial officer, when she came to me and said she was going to offer training to the councillors, I asked her if she had the ability to undertake that training whilst there is such short staffage, and she said it was most important to do so. So I had checked.
That's not been communicated to us.
But it has now, so thank you for that. Councillor Morehouse?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I need to apologise. I'm one of those that booked up to attend and then was dragged away to an alternative appointment, lastminute.com, and I neglected to advise the financial. So could you please offer my apologies to her? Thank you.
Indeed, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. So, Councillor Wiles, did you?
Yes, I have to admit that I did attend the training and found it very useful. So
Oh, excellent.
No
Oh, thank you
others to
very
go.
much. So, Councillor Bryn.
I attended the training too and found it very useful, and I've done some analysis and I've sent it through to the RFO, and unfortunately we were planning to meet last Thursday to discuss the analysis that I've done, but I couldn't make it, and I did apologise, and I'm planning to meet in the near future. So, you know, that's at least two of us that have had the training.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, and doing the analysis as well. That's really, really helpful. So as I say, item number 11 is attachment number 3, and this is for the items attachment 3, which is the general statement as at 30th of the 6th 2023, and the outstanding payments and the balance brought forward as well. Could I have a proposer and seconder for these items, please?
Propose.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marin. Do I have a seconder for that at all? Councillor Franklin, thank you very much for that. And could you vote using your hands to say whether you agree, you accept these accounts, and then I'll do abstaining and rejection. So those in favour? Did you need to count them? And those abstaining? Okay. And those against? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much for that. And item number 12 is Kent County Council consultations. And this is, I believe, a new item that our town clerks brought to us, which is members are invited to consider the following Kent County Council consultation opportunities and debate whether they propose an individual response from each individual town councillor, or whether you favour a town council formal response, or even both approaches. So a decision will be required on this, and the ones we have are set out before you. I'll just read them out so the members of the public are knowledgeable of what's on the agenda as well. And so we have item A is the budget consultation 2024 to 25. We have a new family hub services in Kent. Then the next item is Kent Community Warden Service Review. There are printed copies available of this for members to complete if preferred from the town clerk on the end of the table here, so thank you for that. The local transport plan, National Highways and Transport Survey 2023 to 24, and finally the Improving Health and Care in Kent and Medway. So I put it to you that we, the town clerks brought this up, and it's obviously a choice of the council to discuss these items or to report back singly. Councillor Chuka.
For my sins, I decided to look at each of the consultations. So I've gone through them all, and some are very relevant to Sandwich, some less so. Some probably quite removed from everyday life in Sandwich. So, for example, the local transport plan is set at a very high level. It's about the emerging local transport plan, outlining policy outcomes. So I'm not sure whether necessarily we want to go into great depth of commenting on that, but at the opposite end, the budget consultation, it covers 6 areas. All of those impact directly on our residents. So, you know, as representatives of our residents, I think we should be, as a council, and maybe individually as well, making comments on certainly the budget consultation, particularly as we know KCC's finances are so adrift that it's a scope creep about what goes next, I expect. We have certain assets that KCC owned in Sandwich. We just need to look at, we've got a library, we've got other aspects that we all take for granted, like a rubbish tip, that are under threat. So I'll finish on that point, except for I'd like to add in, to save us coming back to it, the rubbish tip as part of this. My personal view would be, if we were able to find 2 or 3 councillors who are particularly interested in any of the particular surveys on here, maybe they could be endorsed by the wider council, or else you'll need 16 councillors to come up with an agreed answer. And it is an online survey in the main, and it's going through question after question. So you might just want to look at maybe 1 or 2 people who people trust, because they're interested in a particular survey, to go off and do a council input. Yeah, that's
So
just my suggestion.
before you sit down, Councillor Chuka, so which ones in particular did you think were relevant to Sandwich? You said the budget.
Well, this is where I'm going. This could get controversial, of course, but budget consultation, definitely. I didn't think the local transport plan. Improving healthcare in Kent and Medway, I gave up the ghost. I could not find it. Tried all forms of searches on the internet. Maybe it was my failings, but I could not find it. Kent Community Ward and Service Review. That is a key one for us. We know about the gaps in terms of policing in the widest sense. We must, as a council, be responding to this, as well as hopefully individuals as well. I was less convinced about the Kent Family Hub services in Kent, but somebody else might challenge me on that.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Marie?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So these, as Councillor Chuka said, these are they are cost cutting now. KCC saving money. However, we've got to make sure as a council that the residents of the town don't lose out on services. The local transport plan is regarding local buses. So if a local service that runs from here to Elvington or wherever, the smaller villages, if they want to cut their budget, that bus service goes, and then they won't be able to make their way into town. I do believe I spoke to the town clerk last week before she went on holiday, and I asked the question whether we can reply both as a single councillor and also as a council as a whole. I think that's a good idea for us to do that.
That is correct.
Regarding the Kent Community Wardens review, as people doing this, each council doing a certain thing. I think as a collective, as a whole collective, I think all 16 of us on one voice on an email or a piece of paper, on a heavy piece of paper to the KCC would work much better than having just one single councillor look at a certain item. That's my
opinion. Okay, thank you very much. Was there any other discussion? Councillor Green first.
Yeah, no, I would just like to say that I think some of these consultations should be considered by the subcommittees, that are pertinent to the topic. So, for instance, the consultation on the budget naturally sits with finance and so forth. So I think, the appropriate subcommittee, highways and transport and stuff like that, I think that's their heritage and townscape and so forth. So I think consideration should be given.
I've got Councillor Black next, sorry, he has been waiting a long time.
Just to say, the local transport plan I think is important because it's also committing the council to things it should do to achieve net zero. Plus, if things get much worse, there's going to be no public transport at all in this county, and that's not acceptable. And secondly, the highways and transport survey is closely related. Now, I'm happy to participate in that. I have a bit of expertise in transport, but not recently.
Thank you very much for that. Just one quick.
Sorry, it's just to respond to Councillor Green. There are dates that these.
I was just going to say
that's a key thing. So, for example, delegating the budget consultation to the finance committee won't really work because the end date is the 6th of September. On the transport, and I'm not arguing against it at all, but when I looked at the survey, it's about policy objectives.
I'm sure.
So it might be difficult to respond from a Sandwich perspective.
Yes, I accept that.
So thank you for that. What I was going to ask was, I was going to ask the town clerk, so what's the best way to go about this if there's a collective decision? There seems to be about 3 that seem to be collectively, would you prefer councillors to report back to you and you collect that information and submit it?
I can certainly do that, or the suggestion of 2 or 3 councillors being appointed. I think Councillor Suka made that suggestion. That seems a reasonable approach as well. So whichever members prefer, I'm happy to go with that.
Sure. Okay then. So let's see a show of hands for any volunteers that would like to participate on this, on any of these ones. We've had Councillor Black and Councillor Chuka. Was there anybody else? And we've got Councillor Murray, Councillor Ripley. So Councillor Pennington as well.
I do have one query. I agree about we all trust each other, yes, but I'm sure there's plenty of potential for disagreement as well. So I'm just wondering if there might be a way of something being drafted which could then be circulated.
That's what the town clerk's going to do. So she's going to draft the
so that we could send
thoughts,
comments
and then
the
the town clerk will send that out to all councillors to agree,
yes.
and then that can be sent off. If that's okay.
Sorry to come back
Very
again.
quickly then.
Only because I've been through it and
Indeed, we're using you as our
We
SME.
might struggle to actually come separately. We need to double check, because when I went on to some of these surveys, consultations, it actually said, are you a body or are you an individual?
That's correct.
So
That's,
I think we're driving it through automation so that it all goes into one pot of comments.
So I wasn't saying we should comment separately. I was saying the subcommittee or whatever it is that's going to look at these consultations circulate. Oh, I see. You can't
It's an online survey, and then it says,
No.
are you a group?
Yeah, so basically what we'll do is the town clerk has got a list of names, and so the town clerk will put out the dates. So obviously the quickest date, which is the budget one, the town clerk will approach the volunteers and get the feedback from that, and then collate that information, and then could that go out to all councillors quickly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and that can go out to all councillors so that we're all in agreement on this, and then that will be put in as the Sandwich Town Council consultation on that. But what I want to say is this is open to all individuals as councillors or private residents of living in this county. You can log on and submit your own comments as well, and I'd suggest that you do so. I get all these come through on some sort of email alert. So every time a consultation comes up at KCC, it comes through into my email box, and I reply to them anyway, because that's obviously the nature of what I am. That's why I've been doing 16 years as a councillor. So, but I would ask all of you, if you've got the time and effort, apart from the one that can't be found that easily, is to log on and also put your individual opinions on, because as has been said, some of these items go over a large number of years, so they might be for 5 or 10 years. Transport plan might be for, say, the next 5 years, and it's very important, as Councillor Black said, that we maintain the public transport system for those people that can't drive or can't afford to drive. So I'd ask you all to try and participate where possible. Thank you very much. Item number 13.
Sorry.
Okay, just very quickly.
Can I just say, I think the most practical way of doing this is for people to meet, including the RFO on the budgetary, to sit around the TV, input our responses, download our responses and circulate them, and then if there are any adverse comments back, maybe moderate those and then submit the application, just to do it, because otherwise things bouncing around with lots of different people, and that's an extreme.
I'll leave that for the town clerk to organise.
Yeah. So just to be clear, because I'm not sure who wants to participate in each individual, what I'll do is I'll email all members a specific consultation opportunity, and then we'll work with whoever responds back to me by a certain deadline.
Do it in here or next door with a screen.
Yes.
So thank you. We'll leave that with the town clerk. So item number 13 is the Standing Orders Working Group update, and it is members to consider 2 reports from the Standing Orders Working Group with a proposed draft of newly revised standing orders for council to consider and adopt, and a decision is required on this. This is agenda item number 5. I just wanted to say, first of all, before moving on to this one, is I wanted to thank the this Standing Orders Working Group for the work they've done on this, because it's for one thing, it's a very dry subject, but it's also, secondly, a very important subject, and it's a subject where I know from speaking with Councillor Black that a lot of research and liaison with other councils was necessary in order to look into that. So I'd like to thank them for all the hard work they've done on that. And the purpose of this report is, as detailed in here, I won't read it all out, but the recommendations are to decide on the fit of the current draft for STC as it moves forward, to recommend any further changes on this draft, and to agree an implementation date on that, and then finally to decide on next priorities for the working group. So I'd like to take any discussion on this. Councillor Morehouse, I didn't see. Oh, Councillor Anderson.
Well, thank you. I'm also very grateful for this redraft, but I do have a number of questions, and I hope you'll take them on board, or you'll be able to answer them now. So, point 3.36 of the new drafted standing orders, it talks about, it puts in tabular form the composition of committees for agreement by us. So, as you probably know, there's a long history of debate, to put it mildly, about what constitutes a quorum and what is a legitimate decision or not. And I want to be absolutely clear. In this tabular form, which I think is probably the right way to do it, under quorum, town council, it's pretty obvious it's 9 councillors. Under committee, I think you should also say 5 councillors, and it should be 5 councillor members, because you're also saying that councillors can attend the meeting. So it has to be 5 councillor members, and similarly subcommittee, and I'll come back to what constitutes subcommittee, it should be 3 councillor members. So if you could put that in, then at least we'll be clear, because that has been a big problem. A second issue which arose, particularly when we were a small group of us, when we were first elected in the by-elections, when Colin Wiles and others took the lead in trying to alter the structure of the committees of this council. One of the criticisms that was made of the proposals at that time was that the chair of the council, in other words the mayor, because you use those terms interchangeably, had in the past been chair of all committees. And we took the view, when we looked at the committee restructuring, that the chair of the council should not be in that position. However, when we were criticised for this, we made a compromise, because the critique was that the chair of the council needs to know what is going on across the council, and there may be some merit in that argument. And the compromise we made was that the chair of the council is ex officio deputy chair of all the committees. And what you have not spelled out in these standing orders is, you talk about vice chair of committees, is how that vice chair is selected. There's nothing about it at all. But secondly, you are changing this commitment that we made previously, that the chair of the council, in other words the mayor, would ex officio be the vice chair, in the absence of the chair of the committee, the vice chair of the committee. So I wondered whether that was deliberate, but if it is, then secondly you need to put in something about how the vice chair is going to be selected. You've indicated how the chair of the committee will be selected, but not the vice chair. I've got some other points.
Can I just respond very briefly to that, if that's possible?
Yes?
Oh, indeed, yeah. Could you stand up, Councillor Black, to answer that?
No, we deliberately went to ground zero and said let's start from scratch.
Yes.
Yes, the council leader, which we call mayor, is an ex officio member, but it's up to the committee to decide who the chair should be. If we have omitted to put in vice chair, that, looking at my colleagues, should not be a problem at all. We have a meeting this Thursday precisely to try to update these sorts of things.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification, but I think the council does need to consider whether the argument that the chair of the council, in other words the mayor, needs to have a position in relation to the committees, in other words, be the vice chair. So that's something that I wanted to raise. I've got some other queries. I'm not clear what the difference is between a subcommittee and a working group, and I couldn't see in the standing orders any justification or rationale for having a subcommittee. And I think you need to spell that out, because working groups are short-lived, as we know, and I think personally they work quite well by addressing a short-term problem and coming up with short-term recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
So a subcommittee of a committee, I presume, is a permanent body, but you need to spell that out, I think, and explain under what circumstances a committee would set up a subcommittee. I've got two more minor points until I come to a more complicated point. Under 666, you say these are instructions as to what the Dover District Councillors and the Kent County Councillor, the issues that they should address, both routinely when they come to the regular council meeting and also in the annual meeting of the council. And I was a bit puzzled by the reference to they should address, they should cover the services for which each are accountable. And I didn't know whether you meant the institution is accountable. In other words, Kent County Council is responsible for social services, Dover District Council is responsible for housing, or whether you meant the services which that individual councillor sits on a committee or advisory group or whatever of that council. So I think we do need to clarify that. The second question that I had in relation to that section of the redrafted standing orders was, what do you do if the DDC councillors and the KCC councillor simply refuse to do what you're asking them to do? We have no sanctions, we have no right to ask for this information. We just have to hope that they will treat us with goodwill and collegiality, and that may not happen. So you don't have any sanctions. So I think maybe you might have to address that particular issue. Another issue which has also arisen out of the bruising experience that some of us had before the May election was that I did wonder whether you should say something about, when you come to talk about motions, that motions will be accepted by the proper officer and their wording left unchanged, because our experience, I think, was that the wording was frequently changed of the motion that we put forward when it came onto the agenda. So I don't know whether you need to do something about that, but I'm rather hoping that things will proceed in a somewhat different way. The final comment that I have is about minutes. Now, minutes get mentioned often in the standing orders, and I am currently experiencing a problem about minutes. The Heritage and Townscape Committee, for example, met last month, and I would have expected, but I'll come back to the reason why I began to think that it probably wasn't going to happen, that the minutes of the Heritage and Townscape Committee would have been brought to the Town Council. But there's a secondary issue, and they're not. There's a secondary issue in that the minutes always contain recommendations. So I'm not clear, and it's not mentioned anywhere, what the pathway is and how you organise it within the standing orders between a committee making recommendations, which then have to come to the town council, and the speed with which that happens, and also how can we agree to the minutes before, because the town council meets in between the meetings of the committee. So it's really a very complicated issue, but it's a very important issue because the committees make recommendations to the council.
That's great.
And we need to have a pathway of how to do that. For example, and this is why I'm really concerned, the Heritage and Townscape Committee at its last meeting recommended that we set up a tourism forum. Now, I half expected that recommendation to come to this council meeting, but it's not there. And that leads me to another issue about minutes, and I think we do have to put it in standing orders, that minutes have to be written promptly.
Yes.
There has to be a timescale for minutes. So I would say that in the standing orders you have to say that minutes should be agreed between the clerk who takes them and the chair of the committee within a week of the meeting having taken place. Would that be acceptable? But there's nothing in the standing orders that indicates that. But then you have to, and it's too difficult for me to sort out, you have to work out a pathway whereby the minutes are agreed and the recommendations brought to the council. And that is really quite a nutty problem.
Can I just reply to those last points about the minutes, the meetings and things like that? As I, I'm probably sound a bit like a stuck record, but we are literally down to just two officers,
yes,
so the staffing
I was perfectly prepared to accept that that is the case at the moment. But I also think there has to be a structural answer to the question that I've posed.
Oh, sure, yeah, indeed, that needs to be set down. Town clerk.
All I'd say, Councillor Anderson, is if there is a stipulation in standing orders, there won't be any clerk for meetings a week before or a week after a holiday period, because if I'm going to be on holiday, there won't be anyone here to do the minutes, and that's exactly
I
what's happened.
accept that the word normally is a very useful word, and that, but there is this issue about the approval of minutes and also the discussion of recommendations coming up from committees.
I think Councillor Morehouse was next, and then
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor Wiles, and then Councillor Breen.
Most pleasing aspect is the extension of the public right to speak being extended to 5 minutes. I congratulate you on doing that. My concern is item 4.2.2. It states that the annual town meeting will start at 6 p.m. and that will preclude anyone who is in full-time employment from attending. And referring to Councillor Anderson's comments about working in a collegiate spirit, I pledged on the day of the count I would work in a collegiate spirit, and I will keep to my word. I cannot speak for the district council or the county councillor, but I will stick to my word and I will work in a collegiate spirit with this council.
Is that 6 p.m. set in stone?
It's not something I'm aware of.
Sorry, yeah. So if that isn't set in stone, perhaps we can arrange the annual town meeting for a more beneficial time, because as Councillor Morehouse has said, it's not actually just the councillors who are working that miss the meeting, it'd be the other ones as well. Councillor Breen?
Sorry, just on that particular point, that 4.2.2 says if no other time is fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a mandatory regulation from it's a statutory requirement. If no other time is fixed, it's 6 p.m. While I'm on my feet, if I may, just to try and address very quickly some of the points that Councillor Ungerson, a permanent subcommittee might be a good idea for the finance and general purposes, because one of the finance and general purposes is to look at health and safety. So you might want a team of people constantly looking at health and safety. So I believe there are topics. In respect of what is, you know, what the point about if the councillor doesn't comply, refuses to submit a written report, as far as I'm concerned, from when we were canvassing, it was obvious that the services, education, housing and all, which are provided by the different councils, there was a requirement to hold these district and county councillors to account. So we, by requesting them to submit a written report, if they fail to do so, let it be on their own heads, type of thing. And finally, you know, your point about bringing recommendations, I would suggest that if a committee has got a number of recommendations, then that committee should submit a report, not wait for the minutes to be approved at subsequent, but submit a brief report to say we need approval or we recommend a new tourist officer or whatever.
Thank you for that. So Councillor Black.
Very briefly, thank
Yeah,
you.
what
I did get I wrote to all three of the councillors to tell them in advance what our thoughts were. Councillor Chandler has responded. She responded very positively to the first three. She did make the point, in her own words, that my report is my report.
I see.
She does specifically say that she's quite happy to accept questions, so I think I would recommend this council to adopt that bit. And I think Councillor Green has summed it up perfectly. If they choose not to respond or not even to send a report, on their heads be it, but we will make clear our views as a council.
Thank you very much for that. So I think possibly, because there's quite a number of items that have been raised on this, do we need to come back with this, with an amended plan with this, or set things council?
We have a meeting this Thursday to specifically knew that there would be issues, and we would hopefully get something in writing pretty quickly, because we turn over things fairly quickly. This is working through.
That's good. I was just going to say, because if it's not decided upon at this meeting, the town clerk has said we could hold an emergency extraordinary meeting if necessary, but I'll leave that with the working group to decide. I'm going to, at this point, propose a deferral for these items to be drawn up. So.
I think that was still at all, Mr Mayor.
Oh,
So I'm not happy with it at all.
Councillor Wiles?
Yeah, I mean, members will know that we grappled with this last year.
Yes, we did.
And we had some success, some things we didn't get through at the time. The working group have grappled with it again, and you can see that it's a bit like a python that is very hard to pin down at times. But I think you've done a great job in coming up with a better set of standing orders. But I don't think we can agree these tonight, because there are so many things in there which need to be polished.
Yeah.
There's some areas, there's grammatical inexactitudes, there's typos, there's other bits where there's some confusion. For example, about electing the chair and vice chair, and then electing the mayor and deputy mayor. If you read that, it implies that those posts could be different people, which obviously isn't the case. I think the public participation thing we need to look at, because clearly we've got someone who was here tonight, who I won't name, who comes to every meeting, and if you only have 5 minutes and 20 minutes total, then that person could be, as a resident, could be dominating the proceedings, which we don't want. We want to hear more voices, so perhaps we could look at limiting the number of times a resident speaks in a single year, for example. So things like that need to be looked at. But I don't think we can agree these tonight. There's too much in here that needs to be polished
so I'm
up.
putting forward from the chair that we defer this, but could I ask if there's quite a lot of people that have got issues or concerns, that they feed them back to the working group? Would it be better for them to come via?
May I ask that they get fed back to the 5 of us in the working group by Thursday by 0900 hours?
Okay,
because otherwise we won't get them.
Yeah. So by Thursday, 0900 hours, can the items be fed back? Could they send them just to one of you? Is one of you the chair?
Well, you can send it to me, but I mean, I'll just pass them straight on. Look, folks, it doesn't take you long to go click on Councillor B, Councillor Tuco, Councillor Black.
No.
I mean, literally just do it on our
But
email.
filling up everybody's email boxes, I just wondered if it's relevant. Okay, so we'll send it back to all 5 councillors then. So if any councillors have got any issues or concerns with these items as drafted, can you send them to the working group by 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, please? Okay.
Can't do that.
So
I'm away tomorrow. This is the first time we've seen these.
Yeah.
So we do need to look at them in more depth. We can't
delay their meeting. Mr. Mayor, they'll have to delay their meeting, I'm sorry. Councillor Wild, so important. Councillor Wild did so much work last year. We had extraordinary meetings. I don't know if these councillors are even looking at, attending the meetings or looking at the meetings online. But we spent so many hours last year redrafting the committee, reformulating it all. It's only like within just over 18 months, wasn't it? And suddenly talking, Councillor Black said he just wanted to tweak them. Apparently they've had eight committee meetings. That's not a tweak, that's reinvented the wheel. They'll have to hold their meeting longer. I think all councillors that are concerned must have time to reply.
Okay, so how long are you on holiday for, Councillor Wilson?
Only until Friday.
Right, so could that be a return?
By Monday,
well,
I can send you comments.
As a working group, it's easier for us to determine how frequently we meet.
Indeed.
We certainly had this meeting set up with, we knew there would be some issues which would cause debate. I can then ask my colleagues on Thursday if they're able to attend another session and give us some more time. At the moment I won't get an answer because I know there's other commitments and at least one person is away at the moment.
Okay, so the proposal on the floor is to defer this and all queries, questions and decisions are sent through to the 5 members of the working group, not by Thursday 9 o'clock but as soon as possible.
I would like the people who are here to have it by Thursday.
By Thursday.
Otherwise we will delay and delay.
I know.
That has happened in the past.
I was going to say that.
With all due respect.
You've got civic year, no rush.
We have a rush. I disagree. I'm sorry, I fundamentally disagree. There are huge problems about standing orders and this does need to be resolved as quickly as possible.
I agree. So we're not having any more discussion on this, please. So it's being deferred. I'm putting forward that it's being deferred, and where possible, because we promised the public at the annual town meeting that we would address these as soon as possible.
Exactly.
So and that's what the working group are doing. I've got a really good working group on this. I don't want them to lose sight of the goal. So I want them to go forward for this. So I've proposed that we're deferring it. All queries and questions are sent through to the working group. If for people that are here, they must try and get them by Thursday morning. For people that are on leave or other obligations, then they must get them by the start of the following week.
Right.
And that is the deadline for this. We promised the public that we would get this done first of all. So I've proposed it. I need a seconder. Councillor Wild seconding.
Can I say something?
Very, very briefly.
Can we not just work backwards from the next council meeting? That will, when we take the final version, work backwards a week and then a week before that circulate a final draft version which all councillors can respond to, and then a final version comes to that meeting. That's all we need.
But we don't want a reenactment of what's happening tonight, do we? We need to know that in the August meeting
before tonight.
If we have a meeting this week, and we will obviously by the sound of it have at least one other meeting, as soon as we have done that, we will circulate this in plenty of time for the next meeting, we would hope. And that was our target, was to get these resolved as quickly as possible. And I remember talking to my colleague here, he said, well, we can do it in 2 months. Really?
Exactly. Okay, so it's being deferred. Could I have a seconder for that being deferred? Thank you, Councillor Black. And all those in favour of deferring this for all items to go forward? Councillor Franklin, are you voting on this or not?
Yes, I will. I'm not happy with it, but yeah, defer it.
So those.
Got a long day.
Okay. I think that was.
I was answering your voice, Mr. Mayor.
I wouldn't if I were you. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, who seconded that?
So that was seconded by Councillor
Paddington, thank you.
Did you cancel?
Councillor Black.
Councillor
Second.
Black.
Oh, Councillor Black.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
Councillor Black.
that's
So
all
I
right, that's all right.
was trying to catch Councillor Franklin from being a little boy. So item number 14 is an update on meetings for August 2023. Members to receive revised meeting schedule from the interim town clerk to note and approve the movement of STC, STBF to avoid the bank holiday. Decision is required. This is item number 6. There's only really 2 dates that have been amended on this. So I just need somebody to propose and second. Proposed by Councillor Anderson. Are you seconding?
Can I just say
Councillor?
something briefly
Oh,
regarding the
indeed.
calendar? So the calendar of the last couple of years has been where we have the summer holidays that are off. There's no meetings during August and there's no meetings during Christmas. Can I ask why they've all of a sudden come back over the last couple of years? Because normally it's a time for families on holidays,
Yes,
summer
it is.
holidays and stuff and bits and pieces. And we, in the end, if we keep doing this long calendar of meetings every single month, 4 or 5 meetings every single month, we're going to get meeting fatigue,
Yeah.
and it will get a bit draining. So I was wondering if we can speak about possibly amending it in the future. Yeah, quarterly. Yes, fine. But what meeting to see if we can change the calendar, especially for the next civic year.
Indeed, I think next civic year the town clerk will be looking for a dry August, apart from the quarterly meeting. Councillor Franklin?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. It's a quarterly meeting. You've got, it's got to be May's first annual meeting, 3 months on in August. I mean, when I first came on this council, I won't say how long, 32 years ago, but we used to have 2 meetings every month, and we always had 2 meetings in August. It was only the last couple of years due to COVID, and we were all on Zoom meetings, and Dover weren't having meetings on the, and it was quite a small agenda. But you know, like last month, look how long that was. And if we don't have an August meeting, it happened last year actually, if you remember.
Yeah.
We didn't have a meeting in August, and the September meeting was tremendous, and there was so much work to get through. It only has to be a short meeting, it doesn't have to be a long meeting.
No.
If we keep it, but we must have, because it's a
We
quarterly.
will be keeping the quarterly meeting up, and
Yeah.
I'd just like to update you, when I went to Folkestone Town Council, they have bi-monthly meetings, so that every 2 months they have, sorry? I thought it was every 2 months, but they don't have monthly meetings at Folkestone Town Council at all. But anyway, so I've had a proposer, was Councillor Anderson, and the seconder for this current calendar, that's Councillor Morehouse. Thank you very much for that. So item number 15 is the Maddox bequest.
We need to vote on that.
Oh, sorry, beg your pardon, did I not vote on that? Oh, that's good, well pointed out. All those in favour of the updated calendar? And any abstaining?
No, okay, a 4.
Oh, 4. Okay, thank you very much, so that's passed. Thank you. Item number 15, the Maddox bequest. Members to receive and consider a report from the RFO, and this is regarding opening a discretionary managed account, and a decision is required on this one. And basically this is for a discretionary account to be set up to hold the shares that have come from the estate in the temporary whilst we're setting up the trust. Now, this is quite important. I don't want to sort of skew your own opinions on this, but basically this will get the shares from the Maddox estate into an account where they can be managed and they can actually bring in some income, and they will be looked after as if they were in a trust fund. So do councillors wish to open a discretionary managed account with EFG Harris Allday for a minimum term of 12 months at a commission fee of 0.6%? So I'll put that to all of you first. Those in favour of opening the account, please.
Could we speak to it, please?
Oh, indeed, yeah, please do.
Sorry, I'm just a little bit concerned about a discretionary managed account, because this allows the fund manager then to sell the shares and buy other shares, excuse me, and do what he wants with them. And you'll notice in the report from the RFO, there's been a dividend paid to Sandwich Town Council of £9,426, but some £3,109 has been deducted in expenses. What are these expenses for? who's approved these expenses. And so by giving these people a discretionary managed account, they can do what they want with them, with the shares, I mean. Whereas I would prefer that the shares, if the Maddox bequest is left shares in certain companies, they are not empowered to sell those shares, but just are caretakers of those shares. I did have a look at the website of this fund manager, and it said the majority of our charities clients appoint us on a discretionary management basis, not that they all appoint us. So I just feel that they're putting us into this position for their own benefit, not for the benefit of the overall fund. In the communications we've seen from the company, they did offer to come and give us a meeting, excuse me, to explain what they wanted to do. So I would suggest that we have a meeting of the Maddox Fund, that this is discussed at the Maddox Fund by the working group, and that working group then come with a recommendation to the full council.
Okay. Councillor Pennington?
Yes, thank you. I support Councillor Green's comments. I would certainly be in favour of having a separate account. I think that's necessary for transparency. But how this account should be managed, I think we should look at other options in rather more detail. I really think this isn't sufficiently presenting other options that we might follow, and I share some of Councillor Green's concerns about the management of it.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Councillor?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Councillor Breen that they need to go, but I do think they need to be collated into one account, because at the moment they're not, are they?
No, they're not.
So I think we should go with this. And as for discretionary shares, if you look at the Tollbridge Fund, I think that those people have discretion to buy and sell shares, don't they?
They do, yeah.
They come and tell us what they bought and they sold. We don't have no control on it. So if the shares are high, they will sell them and buy some more. So they do buy and sell shares on our behalf. I should think this is just, and this is only interim for 12 months, so I think we should just go in, because we do need to pour the money in one place. So the solicitors can do, but we can't at the moment.
Yeah, we should have
There is, I will just point out, it's a bit like with Quilter Chevia, that there is an agreement put in place as to what shares are sold and bought. So the fund manager would not be able to just buy and sell willy-nilly, so he couldn't buy really expensive shares or shares in, say, arms companies or something like that. So there is an agreement, because we have that with Quilter Chevia. So we've got an agreement with them as to what companies can be actually bought into and can't be bought into. So, Councillor.
Yeah, I appreciate it, all the comments that have been made actually, and I just wanted to make the point that it feels a bit like putting the cart before the horse. I know it's a temporary arrangement, but also I'm just curious, you may not be able to tell me, about how this company was known to Sandwich Town Council, because you know
That's it,
how we got to that point.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is. This is the recommendation of the responsible financial officer, who has chosen this company. That is what she's told me as the best option for a temporary measure. It's just a temporary measure until the trust is set up. But if there is so much query and questions about this, we can defer it until a meeting with the trust fund manager is put forward, or indeed the RFO looks for several trust funds to come and present to the group. So I would put that to you. Is that what you would prefer to happen? So.
Just a point to, maybe I'm correcting you, but it's my understanding that this company was the company that was appointed by Georgina Maddox, you know, in the first instance. I think it was, that's how the company kind of came into existence.
I see. That wasn't what the RFO told me, but thank you for that.
That's my understanding.
So what I suggest on this item is, once again, unfortunately, we have to defer this and take this back to the RFO to pose the questions that Councillor Breen has brought up. But obviously it will delay these shares being managed professionally how they should be. So I'm putting forward that proposal. Is anybody seconding that? So that would be to defer this item and to get the trust fund managers to come to a meeting.
With the working group, that includes the RFO,
Indeed.
and then the working group can put a recommendation to the council.
Yeah. So that's my option. Are you second this, Councillor Wild?
I just wanted to say something.
Oh, okay, indeed. Please stand up.
I mean, I haven't been closely involved in the working group, but just a couple of questions. First of all, do we know what these shares are? Are they ethical? Are they in arms companies? I don't know. Secondly, I don't know how this company has been selected. Maybe that needs a bit more
That's what we're going to find out.
But the third thing is, I mean, really, we need to look at you know, whether it would make more sense to cash in these shares and put the money into a bank account. Shares are not performing very well. Maybe interest might be better.
Centrica shares
But
are
we
doing
need to
very
look at it in a
nicely.
bit more
Thank you
detail.
very much. Yeah, I think that's all going to be answered, as I say. So I'm proposing a deferment. I'm proposing what Councillor Breen has said, so that the fund manager can come along to a meeting with the RFO and the working group and explain that, and then the working group can report back to the full council. So do I have a seconder for that deferment at all on that basis? Councillor Tompkins, thank you very much. And all those in favour, please raise your hands. Okay, that's unanimous, thank you for that. So, okay, we've got two options now because we're really short of time. We can either take these confidential items now, or we can actually vote to take the confidential items after the Sandwich Tollbridge Fund. So
I propose we move to the end of the Tollbridge Fund.
Indeed. Okay. And do we have a seconder for that? Thank you. And all those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay. So we will